tonight. You go up against a team who's won one game in the past, month and a half. So how are you preparing for guys?
I don't know. I mean, I think they've given us really good games. Watching that last game, they cut it to 4, I think, with 4 minutes left or something. So we have not, you know, played great against this team. That's a credit to Charles and how hard they play, and like to see us, play a little better. So I think our guys will be motivated. They know they've given us some resistance in the past.
I got a challenge for you. Without using the word connected, or connector, or connectedness,
Yeah.
or some version, why is this group 30-4?
Chemistry. I'm looking at all the synonyms, right? Well, I gotta be like. It starts with roster construction. I mean, at the end of the day, Kobe and Mike and Brandon, I mean, they've done a phenomenal job putting this team together. It's a really balanced team. We kind of have, we have interior play, we have perimeter play, we have ball handlers, we have shooters. So I just think it starts there. They've done an amazing job. And then the second part of that is, Serena, you have roster construction like that, and then you have the continuity that goes along with it. That's, to me, that's 99% of this, and connected is the 1%.
Legend.
It's mascot day here at the field house. Based on what you've seen from him, who do you think would win a game of one-on-one? Moondog or Sir Cece?
Oh, I got Moondog, hands down. You too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All-Star voting and underway. What is your message to basketball fans as they are submitting their votes?
The Cavs have had a really good start to the season. I think we have some deserving more than one deserving player. That should get voted in. So hopefully it happens. Thank you.
Danny.
We've seen Max back for a handful of games at this point. Just what have you liked that you've seen from him in his
Good.
role?
Just love his toughness, his energy. I love. He plays with such pace on both ends. The offensive rebounding's been early returns, like really good, and we need guys like that. They're going to get us extra possessions. So I think he's in a really good place. For having been out that long, I think it's pretty impressive how he's played so far.
In the last month or so, Evan's volume of attempts from beyond the arc have really jumped up compared to any other time in his career. What do you think has led to that?
Confidence. I don't think we're running any more plays for him or anything that. It's just simply he's just getting more comfortable out there. We've encouraged it all year. At some point that turns, right? Like, come on, man, stop passing threes up, and he's kind of taken the mantle, and he's worked on it. You see him out there. He and not just sitting there catching. He works on closeouts and decisions out of the closeout. So really happy for him. He's in a good groove from the 3.
Speaking of Max, obviously there's a tough conversation that's going to come up as when Isaac comes back. Having him come off the bench for Max, being able to spread the floor, bring pace, do you see him as more of a guy that'll plug back in as a starter or continue to come off the bench?
I think to be determined. I mean, these are good problems to have. I think it'll work itself out. It usually does. But we made no decision there on what that's going to look like when everybody's healthy.
Is there any update on Isaac in that regard?
I'm trying to think. I think he's doing contact today. I know he's done coaches contact, but I think we're getting live contact today, so we'll get more feedback from that. But progressing well otherwise, no setbacks.
Tim.
Tim?
Kenny, a couple of games back, J.J. Redick said the opposition has to play a near-perfect game to beat the Cavs. You as a head coach, you're always looking for improvement from your team. When you're 30-4 and playing at the level you're at, how challenging is that to say, hey, we still need to get better here, or do you really need to start nitpicking at that?
Well, that's the ultimate compliment, right? Like, that's I did not know he said that. So, yeah. But I'm a coach, so there's always stuff. I felt like second half of Dallas, they were in our paint all the time, and we had 6 or 7 blow-bys, right? And I'm thinking, okay, Oklahoma City, Boston. When we play these great teams, we have to be more perfect. I mean, literally. I always have, and I think the group we have an appropriate fear for what's coming, and any slippage you can pay for later. So we're going to stay on these guys, even though we are 30-4. Stay on the details.
I know one of the things that you mentioned with us is looking down the road, playoff basketball. What aspect of playoff basketball right now are you seeing that, hey, we've got to get better by April, May, hopefully June?
Yeah, I think we all know this. The physicality rises in the playoffs, and us kind of defensively applying more physicality, and then offensively being able to handle physicality. And we'll just have. I think we have lapses where teams start getting into us, and we don't cut as hard, we don't screen as hard, we don't get open like we should. So just having that edge to us on both hands in terms of physicality. So playing with more force. I think that's the big one. That's the playoff ready basketball we're looking for.
Joe?
I think the longer this goes on with the record, you're going to get a lot of questions of people pointing out what your record is, and I wanted to do that as well. If you win today, there's only a few teams in history that have won 31 out of the first 35. Do you ever come to work thinking that you're coaching one of the best teams in history?
Absolutely not. Until you guys remind me, or if I read something, and I try not to read too much, man, it is good to hear. I'm not like don't tell me, but no, I mean, I think what'll happen is probably in like 10 years when I'm retired, I'll look back and look at the scrapbook and look at what this team has done. But it's really hard in the NBA to kind of celebrate in season, because we know another game's coming, playoffs, big time playoff games are coming. We got OKC coming. We got some real tough games. So it's tough to get ahead of yourself or get too feel good kind of about it.
Historically, when East Coast teams come off a West Coast trip, the next game at home is tough. But then again, normally you're at least challenged on a 4-game West Coast trip, and I'm not sure we could say that. Do you almost look at the next challenge with more eagerly than you otherwise would, just because you're looking to see what this team does next?
Yeah, it allows you to look ahead a little, right? Just got to be honest, and I know we're day-to-day process. We all talk about that, but you are, I think, with this record, you are thinking about playoffs. I think if you're fighting for 5th, 6th place, you're probably like, forget playoffs, right? Like we just got to make it and survive. So, so it's kind of a little different situation for me, right? It's always just kind of fighting game to game and fighting to just stay afloat. So it's definitely different, but I hope it helps us down the line, right? Like I can start thinking about adjustments, and oh man, I can keep, if I'm watching League Pass and I see one of the teams we could play, oh man, look at the Sixers, look at what they're doing, and how can we match up with that type of stuff. So it's an interesting and new experience for me to kind of think that way.
When you have the variety of the rotations that you've put out there, how much significance does a starting lineup hold to you as a coach? That's
great question. It always holds more for the media. The coaching adage, it's not who starts, it's who finishes kind of thing, and that's always the really hard one. who's going to finish the game. We had some scenarios on the road trips. It's like, is it Karras? Is it Max? Is it, that's going to be the tough one. The starting one is not as important. But so it's going to be a little bit like, well, what's the best matchup? Who's playing well? Who's got it going? What combinations work? But again, it's a luxury, right? It's no it's a complete luxury, and but we're gonna have to kind of pull the right strings when kind of money time happens with an expanded roster. And I told guys, listen, there's gonna be games where guys play well and they don't play at the end of the game, that's tough, right? Like normally you play well, you get rewarded. That's not necessarily the case with this roster. I think we have a mature group that understands that, but it definitely is a different situation.
And when you first got here, we talked about leaning on depth the whole way through.
Yeah.
Have you, in the minute allocation on this team, is that about right where you saw it and you foresaw it before the season started?
In a perfect world, this is how it will play out. And looking at the our minute distribution and what our best players, and be able to save minutes. Dallas, instead of guys playing 30, you got to chase it 36, 38 minutes. You're on the other end, right? You're going the other way. Where let's get Don out so we can get 26 minutes. And I just think it matters. I've always thought that. I've always believed it. I think my teams in Brooklyn at the end, no one played more than 30 minutes, and that was a different reason. That was a development reason, because everyone plays less minutes, there's more room for development. But I think you can do it at this level too, and especially when you have the depth we have. But it plays out, and winning is kind of a product. It kind of goes both ways. If you're losing, and I saw this with the Warriors, sometimes if you're not that elite team, then you tend to play your best players more, because you're chasing playoff qualification. You're chasing getting a better seed. So we've been real lucky, so far.
Okay.
I feel like the notion behind the West Coast series was it was going to be a test. It was going to be a chance for you guys to evaluate where you guys are at this point in the season. And after each one of those wins, it never felt like your guys got too high. They were very even keeled, just focused on the next game. What does the mental maturity of this group kind of do for you as a coach?
It's a great observation, because maybe their biggest attribute is their how even keel they are, and it starts with Donovan. Donovan's like, that guy he doesn't go either way, and I just I know we talk in the press, whatever he's measured, but when you're with him during the game, he's just steady. He's steady. The other team goes on a 10-0 run, it's the same guy. If we go on, if we go on a 10-0 run, and then right down the line, it kind of fits personalities, right? Evans that way. Darius will get he's the one guy he'll go with his coach. He'll get a little, up and down. Jared, he's just like, he's always the same. Karras really steady. George can we got a few guys, but for the most part, 90% of the roster, it's kind of their personality, and they're at that age, I think, kind of that maturity age. They're seasoned vets, but they got some years under them, so that helps too.